Okay, I need you to imagine the following. The Kamala Harris gets to be president of the United States, and this is one of her speeches. Let's watch this, because this video is making the rounds on X right now for, well, reasons. You have just watch it.
We talked about those lids. So here's what I said to her. Here's what I said to her. So you know how those lids are, because this is, well, I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. So you know how those lids on those Starbucks cups, they're white, right? And so if you wear lipstick, they get all over the lid. And so then I find myself in meetings if I'm the only woman, and that's kind of, and so I keep taking the lid off and having my cup out so that I don't have that big lipstick mark on the lid. So I said, can we do something about the color of the lid? So that was that conversation.
Okay, that was that conversation. I was, at first I thought, I was looking at some kind of impersonation, that this was a parody of Kamala Harris, that this was generated by AI or something. You know, so many great impersonators that are out there, and maybe you can deep fake their face. No, this is legit. This is from a speech at Spelman College. This is back from 2018. You might say, oh, that is not current. That is so long ago. But still, it was a speech of Kamala Harris. And yeah, for some, all the reasons that you can imagine, the comments are turned off. So, well, this is what we got in this regard. And I would like to ask you, do you really think that is the attitude that a senator should have at a speech at a college, like a formal speech? I'm not saying that you have to be all like I said, a cardboard attitude or persona or boring. You can be engaging. You can crack jokes. You can be you can add levity to your speeches. That would be great. But before we analyze this clip, I want to show you another clip and pose a question. I remember the first time I saw Kamala Harris was during the Kavanaugh hearings. And I saw a completely different woman from the one that we have seen lately. So I don't know if I was wrong in the way that I assessed her back then, but I want you to watch this clip, this other clip, and I'm going to ask you another question. If you think this is the same person that is speaking in this case, because I haven't seen Kamala Harris speak like this lately.
Nobody cares about the fact that we've got a bunch of young black and brown men in prison. That argument is not working. What I suggest we do as African Americans is own this issue in law enforcement and then define it in the way that works for us, because it is a myth to say that African Americans don't want law enforcement. We do. We want our grandmothers to be able to walk to church and be safe. We want our babies to be able to walk to the park and be safe. What we don't want is racial profiling. What we don't want is excessive force.
That's right.
What we don't want is to have our civil liberties and civil rights be stripped. But we do want law enforcement. So
okay, so this goes on and on. This is like 2 minutes long, but you get the idea. I haven't seen Kamala Harris speaking like this in any clip or any interview whatsoever, or any speech in after 2020 at least. It was very strange to see in many ways, especially when you have examples like this one, when she's all over the place, when you have all this you have ample gestures, but they are not synchronized with what she's saying. It's like she's just gesturing to attract attention. And of course, you have the laughter. I'm not going to say the cackling, but I don't know if it's appropriate. But the laughter is concerning as well.
We talked about those lids. So here's what I said to her.
Okay, up to this point, it was okay. She was trying to tell an engage in anecdote, add some levity to the speech. she had a nice voice tone, but afterwards and is when it goes a bit south.
Here's what I said to her. So you know how those lids are, because this is, well, I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. So
Okay, maybe I can mumble sometimes because I want to organize my ideas. Maybe I could stumble as well when I'm making these videos or when I'm making live streams. So maybe she is winging it. Maybe she is improvising. That is nice. That could be one thing. But you could expect someone who spoke the way that you just heard in the other clip from 2006, that you have a better experience. You have much more experience, and English is your mother tongue, and organizing your thoughts and being able to speak on the fly, especially if the anecdote is real. I'm absolutely sure that the Starbucks coffee lead anecdote, this is what she's telling, that it's real. But my question is, why is she so all over the place, and especially laughing so much about an anecdote which is not that funny? It is funny, but not that funny. So that's what I find strange.
because this is, well, I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. So you know how those lids on those Starbucks cups, they're white, right? And so if you wear lipstick, they get all over the lid. And so then...
So it's an extremely casual way of speaking, especially for a public speech. But it's the way that she just it jumps in her behavior, in which she is not only engaged with the anecdote, but she's so, what would be the word for this? So informal about it. Again, I want to make it clear that I have given speeches at colleges and very formal speeches, and I always find a way to add humor to that. That is something that everyone should do. It's being boring should be a cardinal sin in public speaking. Nobody wants to be boring. But another thing, a completely different thing, is being so comfortable that you seem like you are, well, I don't know how to say this politely. I know that many of you are going to say in the comments, oh no, she's just sloshed or something. But we have no way to prove that. So if I don't have if I don't have a way to prove something, in that case that she is, in that state, then I simply don't want to mention it. But it is the way that she moves. I'm going to play that again.
And so if you wear lipstick, they get all over the lid. And so then I find myself in meetings, if I'm the only woman, and that's kind of, and so I keep taking the lid off and having my cup out so that I don't have that big lipstick mark on the lid.
So it is Kamala Harris right now. It's like a parody, and Saturday Night Live parody of herself. That's how she sounds, and that is odd. That is just plain wrong. You should not sound like a parody of yourself, because that is, well, first of all, uncomfortable, because, you're supposed to be a bit more serious, could I say? Maybe serious is not the word. Maybe there should be another word for this. But as you keep watching the video, it gets worse somehow.
So I said, can we do something about the color of the lid?
I always encourage people to go to the source. I already showed you where that clip comes from and how strange this behavior is. And again, I want you to imagine that I'm sure that if she gets to be president of the United States, I hope that she's not going to address world leaders like this, because, well, that will be a complete mess. But again, I'm going to put another part of that clip that we were looking from 2006, so you can see the difference. And And maybe, of course, he was not given a funny anecdote in this case. But again, where is this Kamala Harris? Where did she go?
Only 18% of serious crime results in an arrest. So if I, as law enforcement, with my responsibility to keep you safe, only talk about keeping you safe by sending people to prison for a long time, I'm necessarily going to fall short because the vast majority of that crime's not even hitting my system. So if I'm going to keep my promise to you to keep you safe, I better talk with you about what I'm doing in terms of crime prevention, which...
So again, this clip, by the way, this video, this 2-minute video, that deserves an analysis in itself, because it is impressive how all that body language and especially all that flow of ideas has just disappeared from her speeches, from what she does. I don't know why. I have no idea. Maybe you have a theory about that. So again, I invite you to imagine that this is your president of the United States. That is concerning. But again, I would love to know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. And remember to download my free 100 body language tips in the description of this video. Much love and bliss.